Good afternoon, it's Daryl here. Happy Saturday. It is 4 p.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I'm doing good. The nurses told me that there'll be days that go two steps up and there'll be a day that goes one step back. And today was probably one of those one step back days. But anyway, I was looking through my 12-step book and reading a few things, and I got this epiphany, this analogy, and I just wanted to tell you guys. Some of you guys are probably turned off right away, but I want to talk about to Trump supporters again, straight to Trump supporters. And I thought back who I was back in my addiction. I wanted what I wanted, and I wanted it. I wanted it when I said. I was very selfish. I was very manipulative. So I needed to use people. Like I said, I'm not bragging about this, but you get practice at it, and you have a whole bag of tricks to go with where you manipulate somebody. And it's towards your own selfish means. It's towards what you want, what you need, because it gets to a point where you can't work. You need money. You need people to support you. You need rides. You need everything to keep. And the thing is to keep the addiction going. And I thought about Trump supporters, and I find it like a negative addiction, where really the bottom line is it's about them. It's about what's good for them and people who look like them. I think back when somebody wouldn't go along with my game, wouldn't go along with my manipulation, I would try different tactics, and I would start to get angry. And when I realized that the bottom line, it would get to a bottom line where I would just realize this person is of no use to me. Even if it was my mother or my sister or somebody I loved my whole life. If they wouldn't play the game and feed into my selfishness, my addiction, then I would just turn around and snap on them. I try to make them feel guilty first. You don't love me. That's where I would hear Trump supporters say, you're not a patriot. And you don't love me. And it started to get vicious. And then when I realized that I wasn't going to win this one, that I would not be able to manipulate this person, I would find the meanest, most terrible thing I could say to this person. Just find the crack in their personality, something that I know hurts them, that I've seen my whole life, that little crack. And I would just go full bore with my words and just tear into them. And there was a little part of me, this negative part of me, this evil part of me that enjoyed it, that kind of enjoyed it, because they weren't feeding into what I need. They weren't of any use to me. And it's when you flip onto that negative side of life, and there's that little bit of negative joy you get from seeing that you hurt somebody good. And this made me think of Trump supporters and owning the libs. If people aren't going to buy into this little club of what's going to make America great again, their little club, they're the people that look like me, we're going to lead this country, we're going to take control of this country, us first, the way it should be. And if you're not going to buy into that, well, then you're everything that's wrong with this entire world. You're a liar. Take for instance Trump and John Bolton's book. I didn't even realize there's a prime example. Trump takes these people into the White House to see how what he could get out of them. It's all about him feeding into his ego. And if it becomes obvious that it's more about the country or more about what's right, then he starts to get cold on these people. Or take, for instance, Dr. Fauci. If it's more about the health of this country, he starts to get cold on him. Because what is important is what is good for Donald Trump. What's good for Donald Trump is good for the country. And I see these Trump supporters, and it's like they don't even see it. They're like an angry addict. At the end of the tunnel, they just want what's going to be best for them and their small little group of white men and women. Of Christian white men and women. that will rule this country the way it was supposed to be, the most prosperous. And anybody that gets in the way of that is a liar and is anti-patriotic and bad for this country and should be deported. Leave, get out of here. Go to another country. And I start to see this, the whole thing is a negative behavior, a negative behavior system, where I always saw that in every Trump rally, where you'd see these flashes constantly, these constant flashes of anger, of screw you, and it and it was a negative aura. It was kind of hidden a little underneath of the smiles and the flags and the Make America Great Again, but there was that total aura of just anger and selfishness and me first that rippled through that crowd. And this is what I see. And this is why Trump supporters just steadfastly will stick to Donald Trump. Because really, it's not about the country. It's not about making America great again. Donald Trump is part of their little club of what's good for them, what's going to feed their addiction, what's going to feed their little people that look like me club. Me first. I get the good life. I get everything good out of life because that's the way it's supposed to be. This is my country, and people are supposed to look like me, and I'm on top, me first. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And anybody that goes against that is anti-patriotic. They don't belong here. They're not good for the country. They're not part of it. And that's what it is. It's not about the country. It's not. It's about this selfish, angry, scared little club of people who look like me. And like I've said, this all came about since around the mid-'70s when, not the scientists, maybe the anthropologists, but the people the people that study race were saying that, the race will inevitably mix. The races will mix. And inevitably, this country, there will be more, the Caucasian race will be the minority. And like I said, I specifically remember white people talking about this for decades now. Someday we're going to be the minority. That's what I would hear. I've heard that dozens of times over breakfast, over lunch, here and there. And this is the culmination. All of a sudden, these scared people see in Donald Trump somebody that's going to put them back on top, that's going to get rid of their fears. And anybody else is inconsequential. And this isn't about morals. This is just about getting rid of that fear, feeding that anger, that hatred. Anything that will own the libs. Libs are just people that aren't going along with the plan of me first. So that's what I saw. As you can tell, this is, as I was reading through a couple of different books, I started putting this together on what drives Trump supporters. With the environmental stuff, the stuff that's just obviously wrong. In no way, shape, or form is it good for the country. The only thing it's good for is polluting the water and air that we drink for the short-term benefit of billionaires, of people that are already filthy rich, ignoring the working class. One more point I want to make too. Donald Trump and his phony Black Lives Matter bull. One of the things he kept mentioning, and I don't know if you guys saw it, was school choice. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but didn't you ask yourself, what the hell is school choice? And what does it got to do with equal rights and all that? I'll tell you what. Betsy DeVos is his education secretary. Her family owns, I can't even count, 15, 20 or more those huge yachts, like 200-foot yachts. Her family is filthy rich. She has a lot of ties to the more radical right and the white supremacist movement. And Donald Trump put her in charge of education of the country. And he put her in charge because her total disdain and dislike for the public school system. Yeah. He picked a woman that hates the public school system. True. I know some of you people probably aren't up on what's really going on. That's a fact. That is a fact. She wants to go to private schools. So there's more money put into private schools, the private school system, less money into public schools. And what does that do? That enlarges the working slave class, the people that on the bottom that earn the money, that pay the rent, that buy her yachts. That's exactly what it does. And why Trump supporters just cannot see this, I have no idea. I just see these blind Trump supporters and being scared and angry that they're so scared that white people aren't going to be in charge anymore, and they're just having this blind devotion to this man because they're hoping that it will take away that fear. And they just ignore the stuff like this. School choice. School choice was one of Donald Trump's solutions to the police brutality problem. And that maybe chokeholds should be not okay in some situations. Maybe sometimes. Yeah. And then there was one other one. It was ridiculous. It was patronizing. It was to say, look, I did something. I did more for the black community than any other president. And what do Trump supporters just parrot that? Kanye West goes right along with it. Kanye West, another billionaire. Come back out of the haze of your cultism, Trump supporters. Open your eyes. All right, you guys have a good Saturday.